power, secrets, betrayal. Behind every royal crown lies a world the cameras never show. Forbidden love, hidden heirs, and scandals that could burn empires to the ground. Tonight, we're uncovering the top 10 most secret scandals in royal history. And trust me, the last one rewrote the throne itself. At number 10, we begin with one of Europe's most mysterious modern royals, Princess Charlène of Monaco. They called her the runaway bride who came back wearing a crown. Princess Charlène of Monaco, the South African Olympic swimmer who married Prince Albert II, commands an estimated $150 million fortune in 2025. That's more than the GDP of Tuvalu, all wrapped in couture gowns and carefully staged smiles. But here's where it gets suspicious. Just days before the wedding, tabloids claimed she tried to flee Monaco. Police allegedly stopped her at the airport, passport in hand. Whether true or not, the palace shut it down fast. And Charlène walked down the aisle looking like someone who'd seen a ghost. Her wealth flows not from companies, but from royal access. She shares control over the Grimaldi Empire, the $1 billion palace overlooking the Mediterranean, multi-million-dollar apartments across the Riviera, vintage yachts, and jewels inherited from Princess Grace. Together, those holdings give Charlène a lifestyle most billionaires only rent. But unlike Grace Kelly, she doesn't act the Hollywood role. She moves like someone trapped in it. That's not just privilege. That's a gilded cage lined with diamonds. Then came the silence. Months in South Africa, under the vague excuse of sinus surgery. Royal insiders whispered it was a separation disguised as recovery. Others claimed she refused to return until her marriage contract was renegotiated. When she finally reappeared in 2022, pale, thin, almost unrecognizable, the palace insisted she only needed rest. And here's the kicker. Multiple French magazines later revealed she's been living mostly in a private residence outside the palace ever since. So, was it illness or quiet rebellion? In Monaco, no one dares to ask, because sometimes the most dangerous secret is pretending everything's perfect. Coming in at number 9, we move north to a royal story so strange, it sounds like a Netflix fantasy. She was born into one of Europe's oldest monarchies, and then fell in love with a man who claimed he could speak to the dead. Princess Märtha Louise of Norway, with a personal fortune hovering around $25 million in 2025, traded tiaras for crystals. Not billionaire money, but still enough to buy every wellness retreat ticket in Los Angeles twice over. And here's the wild part. She walked away from her royal duties, all for love, and a lifestyle that the palace could never control. Her wealth comes from inheritance, real estate in Oslo, book royalties, and branded healing workshops, many hosted by her fiancé, Shaman Durek Verret, whose own business empire reportedly nets over $3 million a year. Together, they've turned royal spirituality into a global brand, selling guided meditations, energy bracelets, and speaking tours that blur the line between enlightenment and enterprise. That's not just romance, that's rebranding royalty for the TikTok generation. But here's the kicker. Their message of divine energy came with a scandalous claim. Durek once said he cured himself of COVID using a medallion, and critics accused them of exploiting faith for profit. Norwegian media called it the most bizarre royal controversy in modern history. And get this, even King Harold V had to step in, publicly defending the couple while quietly reminding the nation they no longer represent the crown. Turns out, in Norway, you can give up your title, but you can't escape the headlines. At number 8, We turn to a royal story that shook the foundations of Japan's oldest institution, one where love collided head-on with centuries of tradition. She was born into one of the most rule-bound monarchies on earth, and fell in love with the one man the palace wished she hadn't. Princess Mako of Japan, with a personal fortune hovering around $30 million in 2025, gave up the title, the tiaras, and the taxpayer-funded comfort of the chrysanthemum throne, all for a man from a middle-class Tokyo family. That's wild, right? She could have lived her whole life in quiet luxury, but instead, she walked straight into the eye of Japan's biggest royal storm in decades. As a member of the imperial family, Mako's privilege came in subtle forms: palatial residences, lifetime protection, priceless kimonos, and royal stipends valued in the tens of millions. But her real power wasn't in property. It was in symbolism. Every move she made challenged 2,600 years of male-dominated tradition. Her decision to marry Kei Komuro, a law school graduate with no noble blood, lit a fire under Japanese conservatives. Then came the bombshell. Reports that Kei's mother had been involved in a $35,000 financial dispute with a former fiancé. Overnight, tabloids turned it into a national scandal, questioning whether Mako's commoner prince was chasing love or a payday. Here's where it gets crazy. The pressure was so brutal that Mako developed complex PTSD, confirmed by the imperial household itself. Every headline dissected her fiancé's debt, his hair, his suit, even his smile. When the wedding finally happened in 2021, there were no royal carriages, no crowds, no blessings, just paperwork and silence. She even refused the traditional $1.3 million payout, choosing to start over in New York instead. And get this, while the tabloids kept mocking her, she quietly took an unpaid job at the Met Museum, surrounded by people who had no idea they were working next to a woman who once could have been empress. Turns out, the scandal wasn't just her love story. It was how a princess dared to be human in a country that still expects its royals to be myths. Number 7 takes us to Belgium. A small kingdom built on diplomacy, precision, and centuries of quiet tradition. Yet even in this polished world of royal protocol, one secret would shake the crown to its core. For decades, King Albert II of Belgium was the picture of old-world royalty. Calm, respected, untouchable. But behind the palace walls, a secret that could have rewritten the monarchy's bloodline. Even after abdicating in 2013, Albert retained a fortune estimated at $50 million in 2025. Not oil baron money, but plenty to keep the crown polished. Yet no amount of royal wealth could bury the rumor that one of Belgium's most famous artists might actually be his daughter. That's wild. Imagine hiding a secret like that for 4 decades while still hosting state dinners with a straight face. Albert's wealth sits mostly in royal real estate, palaces, hunting estates, and artworks worth tens of millions. Much of it funded by taxpayer stipends and generational inheritance. Add in a lifetime of diplomatic influence, and you've got the kind of quiet power that shapes a nation without ever raising a voice. That's not just rich, that's constitutional rich. But here's where it gets messy. That same fortune became Exhibit A in a legal war over inheritance. Because one woman, artist Delphine Boel, claimed she wasn't just anyone. She was the king's hidden child. And here's the kicker. She was right. After years of royal denials, DNA tests in 2020 proved Albert II was indeed her father. The court granted her full princess status, a new title, and a slice of the royal legacy. Turns out, she'd even worked undercover at the palace years earlier, just to see what life inside her father's world was really like. Talk about poetic justice. The secret daughter who once snuck through palace halls now signs her paintings Princess Delphine of Belgium. That's not a scandal. That's a royal plot twist straight out of a Netflix series. Next up on our list is Spain, where the man once hailed as a national hero ended up as the face of the monarchy's greatest disgrace. Juan Carlos was once hailed as the savior of Spain, the king who faced down a coup and brought democracy back from the brink. But beneath that shining image, a fortune built on shadows. By 2025, Juan Carlos Furt's net worth is estimated at $2.3 billion USD. Yeah, billion with a B. That's more than the GDP of Liechtenstein, quietly tucked away in Swiss vaults, shell companies, and gifts from Saudi royals. Not bad for a monarch who publicly claimed a humble state salary of under $200,000 a year. Makes you wonder, where did the rest come from? For decades, Juan Carlos wasn't just Spain's king. He was its deal-maker-in-chief. Oil commissions worth tens of millions from Riyadh, luxury estates in Madrid and Geneva, private jets from wealthy businessmen, even a $100 million donation from the late King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia that somehow landed in a Panamanian foundation, all traced back to him. Investigators uncovered hidden accounts under aliases, hush payments, and luxury safaris funded by friends in the arms trade. That's not just rich, that's untouchable money, the kind that can move through 6 countries without leaving a fingerprint. Here's where it gets crazy. The entire royal facade cracked open because of a woman. Corinna Larson, his former companion, revealed he'd transferred $77 million to her as a gift of love, money believed to come from Saudi oil deals. She later told prosecutors she'd been harassed to keep silent. Then came the infamous Botswana trip in 2012, where the king broke his hip-hunting elephants while Spain faced record unemployment. That fall didn't just break bone, it broke his reputation. By 2020, he fled to Abu Dhabi, under investigation for money laundering and tax fraud, living in exile on the very wealth that destroyed him. And get this, the man once crowned for uniting Spain ended up being the one secret bank account that nearly tore it apart. Breaking into the top 5, we arrive at the story of a monarch who spent a lifetime preparing to wear the crown, only to find it tarnished by the scent of scandal. King Charles III of the United Kingdom waited longer than any royal in history for the crown. And somewhere in that wait, money started mixing with monarchy. By 2025, King Charles III controls a personal fortune of around $750 million US, stacked in land, art, and ancestral estates that stretch across England like a private empire. But here's where it gets messy. Long before he became king, a secret paper trail suggested that royal titles were quietly being sold. Yeah, in Britain, where knighthoods are supposed to be earned, not invoiced, Charles's empire is powered by the Duchy of Cornwall, a $1.3 billion real estate portfolio that funds his private income, and the Prince's Foundation, a charity meant for global good. But that's where things blew up. In 2021, leaked emails revealed that one of Charles's closest aides, Michael Fawcett, allegedly arranged a CBE, commander of the British Empire, and even promised Saudi billionaire Mahfouz Murray Mubarak bin Mahfouz help securing UK citizenship in exchange for over £1.5 million in donations to Charles's charities. The cash funded restoration projects, but also private perks, luxury travel, and royal access. When reporters traced the payments back to Buckingham Palace, the story exploded. The idea that you could buy your way into the royal circle? That hit Britain like a thunderclap. Here's the kicker. Internal memos showed Fawcett claimed Charles was 100% aware of Mahfouz's generosity. The palace went into damage control. Fawcett resigned, and investigators later cleared Charles of legal wrongdoing. But the scandal stuck. The press dubbed it cash for honors, or worse, cash for cachet. It exposed a monarchy flirting dangerously close to the pay-to-play politics it pretends to rise above. And despite every royal denial, one truth lingers. When your crown depends on public trust, even a whiff of money for favors smells like treason. Securing the fourth position, we turn to the Middle East, where a royal feud didn't just shake a palace, it played out live on social media for the whole world to see. Prince Hamzah bin Hussein of Jordan's the royal everyone once called the People's Prince. Handsome, Western-educated, and wildly popular in Jordan. But in 2021, that golden reputation turned radioactive. Prince Hamzah bin Hussein, with an estimated $5 million in personal wealth, small change in royal terms, found himself at the center of a real-life Game of Thrones. Not over jewels or jets, but power. One morning, the world woke up to a royal saying, "I'm under house arrest." Not through a press release, through an Instagram video. That's wild. Hamzah may not command billions, but he carries something far more dangerous in monarchies: influence. Educated at Harvard and Sandhurst, fluent in 4 languages, and once crown prince before being replaced by his half-brother, King Abdullah II. He had the loyalty of tribal leaders and the admiration of ordinary Jordanians. That's not just royal charm, that's political gravity. The palace claimed he was plotting with foreign interests to destabilize the kingdom. Investigators found connections with ex-officials and businessmen tied to Gulf monarchies. In a country surrounded by regional tension, that wasn't a rumor. It was dynamite. Here's where it gets crazy. Hamzah didn't deny the feud. He recorded videos accusing Jordan's leadership of corruption and oppression. Those clips went viral globally, embarrassing one of the most stable monarchies in the Middle East. Within 48 hours, his communications were cut, guards surrounded his palace, and the prince vanished from view. And get this, he resurfaced a year later, renouncing his royal title altogether, saying he couldn't do what's right while belonging to the institution. The scandal wasn't just a family feud, it was a royal reckoning. In a kingdom built on unity, the real fracture line ran through the royal blood itself. Stepping into the top 3, we head to Dubai, a land of glittering skylines and billion-dollar dreams, ruled by a man whose power seemed limitless, until his own family tried to escape it. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum and Princess Hayaz, the billionaire visionary behind Dubai's skyline, the man who turned sand into skyscrapers. But behind the glossy brochures of Burj Khalifa and luxury yachts lies one of the darkest royal scandals in modern history. By 2025, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum controls an empire worth over $18 billion. That's more than the GDP of countries like Iceland. Yet this ruler wasn't just accused of corruption or excess. He was accused of weaponizing technology against his own family. Mohammed's influence is unmatched, from oil reserves and mega real estate projects to Godolphin, the $500 million global horse racing dynasty. He owns palaces in Dubai, London, and the French Riviera, a private jet fleet, and direct control over state intelligence services. That's not just rich, that's statecraft rich. But the cracks began in 2019, when his wife, Princess Haya of Jordan, fled Dubai with their 2 children. Terrified, she said, of her husband's retribution. Soon after, London's High Court found he'd kidnapped and imprisoned 2 of his adult daughters, Sheikha Shamsa and Sheikha Latifa, after they tried to escape the UAE. The judge called it behavior that no modern ruler should engage in, and that was just the beginning. Here's where it gets wild. Investigators revealed that Sheikh Mohammed used Pegasus spyware, a military-grade hacking tool, to hack Princess Haya's phone and those of her lawyers during the custody battle. Every message, photo, and legal plan, monitored in real time by a sitting head of state. The court's conclusion? He'd weaponized his country's intelligence to control his family. And get this, while he still sits atop Dubai's throne, he's been banned from contact with his children in the UK, and international governments quietly downgraded ties with him. The ruler who built a city of glass was brought down by something invisible, the digital fingerprints of his own power. Our bronze medalist, at number 2, takes us to Buckingham Palace, where one man's fall from grace became the biggest royal scandal Britain has seen in generations. Prince Andrew, Duke of York, was once the Queen's favorite son, a decorated war hero and globe-trotting royal with charm to spare. But today, Prince Andrew, Duke of York's name is synonymous with disgrace. As of 2025, his personal wealth sits around $10 million, a fraction of royal fortune, but enough for private jets and luxury villas. Back when people still took his calls. And here's the wild part. The man who once dined with presidents and billionaires is now Britain's most toxic royal export. All because of one friendship that turned into the monarchy's darkest nightmare. Andrew's wealth came from royal stipends, a navy pension, and taxpayer-funded perks, plus luxury perks from his globe-trotting connections. His lavish lifestyle earned him the nickname Air Miles Andy. He loved his jets, his parties, and his billionaire friends, especially Jeffrey Epstein. The two met in the 1990s and built a network of privilege that opened every door money could buy. For years, Andrew dismissed the rumors, saying he only stayed in Epstein's mansion because it was convenient. Convenient until photos and testimony proved otherwise. Here's where it gets insane. In 2022, Andrew quietly settled a U.S. civil lawsuit filed by Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's accusers, for a reported $12 million. The palace denied wrongdoing, but the damage was done. By 2025, his brother, King Charles III, officially stripped him of the title Duke of York, removed his military honors, and suspended his royal duties, erasing his public identity overnight. And get this, Andrew still insists he has no recollection of ever meeting Giuffre, despite that now infamous photo of them standing together. For a man born into a life where memory is luxury, that's one royal amnesia the world will never forget. And finally, claiming the undisputed top spot on our list, the couple who turned centuries of royal tradition into the most watched family drama on Earth. They were supposed to be the monarchy's modern reboot, the fairy tale couple who'd make the crown cool again. Instead, they blew the whole thing up. By 2025, Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, and Meghan Markle's combined net worth sits around $60 million. That's more than countless royal households outside Europe, built not from crowns and castles, but from cameras and contracts. From a palace in Windsor to a mansion in Montecito, they didn't just step back from royal duty. they rebranded the monarchy. And the fallout? It wasn't just family drama. It was a cultural earthquake. Their empire began with a single word: Megxit. Netflix? Check, they signed a deal reportedly worth over $100 million. Spotify? Check, publishing deal for Harry's memoir, Spare? Check, topping bestseller charts almost instantly. Their docuseries, Harry and Meghan, pulled in over 28 million households, showing that in the streaming age, royalty is content. But here's the kicker: that money wasn't about wealth, it was leverage. They used fame as a weapon. They broadcast revelations, accusations of racism within the royal family, constant media harassment, and fractured relationships made public. For the first time in modern royal history, a working royal said, "Enough." They flipped the script, creating a brand built from leaving the institution, not joining it. And get this, the scandal isn't just about exit deals or memoirs. While they were pitching freedom, hidden messes piled up. In 2024 to 25, internal insiders accused them of turning their charity into a Sussex PR machine, with allegations of bullying, mismanagement, and toxic workplace culture. Meanwhile, the Netflix deal? By 2025, it was axed. The big streaming empire backed away. The couple who aimed to reinvent royalty found themselves deranking in their own game. Despite all the global headlines and Hollywood backing, the deeper truth remains. They didn't just leave the royal family, they challenged the very idea of royalty. And for an institution built on tradition, discretion, and silent sacrifice, that might be the biggest scandal of all. Yeah, that's all 10 secrets of royal. If you're still here, hit that like button, share this video, and tell us, which royal scandal shocked you the most?